Don't just live for tomorrow, or just live in yesterday. Just be glad for all you have that's in today.
Hey everyone, Connie here, and welcome to my blind reaction to episodes 1 through 5 of Crisis Jung, or Crisis June, or I have no idea how it's supposed to be pronounced exactly. I meant to get to this last week, but I had an initial issue with it, and then once I got that figured out and everything, um, I just ended up getting to other stuff, and I just kept getting to other stuff and put it off, basically. Basically, the issue was regarding subtitles, because this is a French series. Crisis Jung is a French series. It is basically brand new. And this is a donation request series as well from Space Apples. Um, this was requested a while back, and that's why I kind of put it right here instead of something else I was going to get to after this. I decided to get to this one first because it was requested quite a while back. Basically, like, when this comes out, react to it. And so it came out, so I'm reacting to it. It's 10 episodes long, and all of the episodes are pretty short. It's like less than half length for each episode. Like, half length would normally be like 11 to 15 minutes. For any kind of series, like, I don't know, Starverse is as an example. But this one, it's like episodes are like less than 10 minutes and stuff. And there's only 10 of them, and altogether, I believe they're like, I think it was like an hour 20 total. So it's like, it's really short as a series. Apparently this was on Netflix in France, but it isn't in the US, so I couldn't watch it there. And because of that, the files I got, I have to actively put on the subtitles for every episode. So as you can see, this is episodes 1 through 5, or as I said. So it's like every time I switch to a new episode, I'm going to have to activate the subtitles again, which I don't usually have to do, and that's extremely, like, oh my god, my mind's blanking on the word now. Inconvenient. It's extremely inconvenient to have to do that every time, especially since I might forget, being all honest. Like, get lost in what I'm watching, and I might just forget to activate them. Now, as for what the series is about, I don't really know. Like, I really don't know much about this series, pretty much at all. I didn't watch any trailers or whatnot. Besides it being French, all I know is I've seen a couple of the, like, I guess, character designs. When I was looking for the image to use for the channel banner. And I don't even remember what most of them looked like. Basically, I just looked up on Google Images, Crisis June, or Jung, or again, I don't know how exactly to pronounce it, but I looked up, like, PNGs and whatnot. So it's like, I saw a couple images here and there, but again, I don't really remember them, and I don't have any context for them, even if I did. I have no idea what the series is going to be about. I have heard that it is very adult. Like, I mean, like, it's supposedly, I guess, I don't know exactly what that means, because that could mean, like, very violent, very bloody and gory. It could be language, it could be sexual content. And I mean, I'm not bothered by any of that stuff. None of it matters to me that much. Like, I mean, Last Man had all of that. Plenty of stuff I've reacted to had all of that. Love, Death, and Robots. When I reacted to that, there was plenty of that kind of stuff in there. Yeah, that kind of stuff doesn't bother me. Sex, nudity, blood, gore, coarse language, no. Doesn't bother me. Really, there's only been a few things that have ever legitimately bothered me in that kind of realm. One of them is this anime, what the hell is it called? Is it Blood Plus? I think it might be Blood Plus. Um, there's like it's like this girl who's like trained to be a monster killer, and these horrible like nightmare monsters that she slays to keep people safe and stuff. Um, but there's like this I guess there's this part at the end of the series or whatnot, or maybe it's in the movie. I think there's a movie for the series too, where all of these monsters just kind of come into the town she's in and start killing everyone, including characters who up to that point you've learned to care about and like. In some of the most gruesome ways I have ever seen anybody killed in anime or just anything really. Like there's this one girl who gets like ripped straight down the middle by her legs, like split right in half. Um, and there's like people who are literally like ground up like food or something. I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of people being eaten as well, bit piece by piece and shit. It's very gruesome. Um, it is legitimately the only thing I have ever watched that has made me physically throw up the first time I saw it. Um, I mean, because I'm not counting games that I've played, because then you would also count Doki Doki Literature Club, which I threw up when the entire suicide scene came up. Um, but that was a different reason and different situation. So, but yeah, in terms of like just like passive viewing content, like watching a show or movie, it's the only time anything has ever had that kind of like raw effect on me. Like it really just it I don't know why even. It's like not the most super well animated show. And it's like I have seen worse gore and violence and stuff. I don't know what it was about it. It just really upset me. And even I've watched it many times. I've watched those clips many times since, and it still does. I mean, I haven't thrown up since the first time, luckily, but it still very much upsets me and makes me feel physically ill. It's legitimately that upsetting. And again, I can't explain it, but that like the point is that's kind of the only situation where that kind of stuff has ever really bothered me to that level. So I don't mind blood and gore. I don't mind sexual stuff. That kind of stuff doesn't bother me. I don't mind. I mean, it may be like slightly upsetting to see, but that's about all like my reaction would probably be. Um, and now that I'm also expecting it going into this, it's like it's probably not going to be as big of a surprise to me either. I don't consider that a spoiler though, because it's like that's just I was being warned about it, and everything, by someone. I think was this Space as well who warned me about that, or was that someone else? Either way, I was being warned about it and like basically being made sure if I could handle that stuff before I would get into the show. So yeah, that I'm gonna be fine with. But yeah, like I said, this is 10 episodes and we are doing the first 5 today. That means we're kind of splitting this in half in terms of our reactions. And the reason for this is I kind of want to get on with some of this stuff we've got on our backlog for the donation rewards. It's not that I want to rush through it or anything specifically. It's just I want to get to some of this. It's been on the backlog for quite a while. There's so much of it, which I mean, granted, to a point, shows how generous you guys have been with your donations last time and everything. But there's just so much I want to get to. There's still movies to do. There's still a few different series, even though we're kind of cutting close to the end of that. Not counting the stuff that is like continuing, like Dragon Prince. That's like that's already like started and everything. But like other ones, we still have to start and all is what I mean. Um, we'll give it a chance. We'll give it a try, and hopefully, with only doing 2 reactions for this series, we don't really have a chance of dropping it. I think the only chance that there would be at this point of dropping it is if one of a couple things happened. One, the first 5 episodes, I just don't like to such a degree that it actually legitimately bothers me to such a degree. Again, either anger or just I can't stand it or just that extremely boring that I just have like literally zero interest in ever continuing to watch it, which is, I feel pretty unlikely. The only other way I'd probably drop it is if it would be sometime while watching these first 5 episodes. Something would just straight up insult me, or just I would find completely abhorrent to the point where it's like, I cannot just accept that, I cannot just move past that. That ruins the entire thing for me. And that's very rare that anything like that would happen. It's very rare that they're most series, even when they do something I don't like, aren't usually that bad. In fact, I think the only show I've reacted to on this channel, or even the old channel, that I've ever had that kind of experience with, where something that it did was so off-putting to me that it completely ruined my interest in the entire show because of that one thing. I think the only show that I've ever reacted to that has done that is Mob Psycho 100 Season 2. And granted, to be fair, even with that, there were other things that were kind of contributing to my losing interest in it already by that point. That was more of a straw that broke the camel's back kind of situation. That was more of the final thing that put me over the edge. And granted, that thing in general, still, I still despised it. I mean, even if all that stuff hadn't built up, it still probably would have pissed me off to that degree, but still. Not going to get into that entirely here, but yeah, I just wanted to mention. It's very unlikely that anything like that's going to happen with the series. I will say from the art style, I have seen from, again, looking up the images to get for the channel banner, it almost looks like it's the same art style as Last Man, which, like, I'm okay with. I know Last Man is getting a season 2, which I am excited for. I'm very much interested to see that story continue. But it's like, I'm wondering if this is from, like, the same studio or the same, maybe, original artist that that it's based on and whatnot. I don't know. Like, I don't know how that works for this one. And for Last Man, connecting, if there's any connection at all. It might just kind of be coincidence. But yeah, I am very much interested in finding out what this is all about. Definitely seeing why it's so adult. And I just hope that I remember to keep like selecting the subtitles on my VLC media player every time I start the next episode. But either way, we are going to get this started. So when the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black and then it fades back in, excuse me. After it fades to black and then it fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the episodes. So that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction. We are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, go. I have no idea what to say. I have no idea what to say or what to think, or I just don't have any clue. Like, how am I supposed to react to this? How am I supposed to react to this? What am I supposed to do? Like, what am I supposed to say to a show like this? Like, again, the sexual content, the violence, the blood and gore and shit, that doesn't bother me. The presentation of this series bothers me. As I said in the reaction when I was like talking about it, like between episodes and stuff, like I mentioned that it's like it's all of the just mindless action and violence and shit without anything to actually build and connect it. The only semblance of a story we got is that there's this dude. He's in a loving relationship with this girl named Maria. Suddenly, this alien or demon creature named Little Jesus comes out of nowhere, turns the world into a hellscape, decapitates Maria, and nearly kills Jung. And he ends up somehow getting superpowers after like having some kind of conversation with a god or something in this giant stone fist. And his powers include like these 10 punches, as well as being able to grow breasts and use breast milk laser bullshit. And apparently this hellscape of a world has been around long enough for legends to be made and for like the survivors of this world to be like set up in these like little like horrible villages and shit, and it's like kind of like the world of Fallout in a way, only more desolate and horrible. And every episode Jung has to fight a shit-birthed creature that represents a different human character trait that Jung has to learn about to become stronger. And people can apparently turn into these chainsaw pelvis sex fiends somehow by losing hope or some shit. I don't remember. And apparently there's like no actual women around, or like that's kind of what it seems like. There's no like cis women around, and the only women around are just kind of declared women by their village leaders. Like I guess Mary Magdalene, and then this kid's mother in this last episode. They're just declared to be women. It's like the kid asks the one dude who came back, "Can you be my new papa?" And the elder's like, "No, he'll be your new mama instead. We have enough papas." And it's like, what? And they put a shawl on him, and he just like starts speaking in a feminine voice, and it's like, okay. And it's just like, what? And one guy was turned in feminine through those sex fiends doing something like putting a chain around his neck. And there's this cannibal who just cuts up innocent people and cooks them, and everybody just eats them like these little children's arms. And I don't know what the series is trying to say. I don't know what it's trying to do. I don't know if it's purposefully making fun of shit. I don't know if it's... I don't know. I don't know. I don't even know what to say about it. I don't know what to think about. Like, am I I don't really have any positive or negative thoughts on it. I don't really have like any like ability to even have any thoughts on it. Like, it's so mindless and senseless that it makes Devilman Crybaby look good. Just even slightly good. And Devilman Crybaby was mindless and senseless, trying to mask itself as something good. I'm not going to get into all that shit right now because I've already shit talked Devilman Crybaby enough in the past, but it's so pretentious. It tries to be so pretentious, and it's just terrible at it because it's just mindless, senseless bullshit. And this makes it look good. This is like the very definition of mindless and senseless bullshit. I don't I don't think that whoever created this, I don't know if it's based off a comic or something, but I don't think whoever created this meant for it to be taken seriously at all. I think it's kind of meant to be an over the top, just completely ridiculously dumb kind of viewing experience. I think it's supposed to be like purposefully poorly made. Not in terms of its quality, in terms of animation stuff. Animation quality is fine. Um, Art style is fine. Voice acting is even okay. I have no issue with that. Sound design, all of that's fine. But the lack of any semblance of a sensical anything in regards to story or writing or characters is just over dramatically bad. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to think. And that's only the first half of this series too. I assume in the end that Jung will probably get revenge on little Jesus, probably kill him, and probably somehow either avenge Maria or somehow bring her back. I just don't know what this is going for. I don't know what I'm supposed to get from this. When you watch a series, you're supposed to get something from that series. When you watch MLP, for example, you get the morals, you get the connectivity with the characters and stuff. When you watch early Steven Universe, anything pretty much before the shit show that was season 5, you get a lot of good lessons, a lot of good morals, a lot of good ideals to follow. You get a lot of good characters and stories that really show a lot of depth. It gives you something. It makes you feel for these characters, makes you care. Same with pre-season 4 Star Versus. Or so many other shows. When you watch a show, you're supposed to get something from it, even if it's just simple entertainment. But a show like this, it's not that it doesn't have anything to offer. It's that I have no fucking idea what it is offering. I have no fucking idea what it's trying to offer. Is it just supposed to be so senseless, so mindless, so ridiculous that it's funny? Is it supposed to be just an entertaining, dumb romp that you just enjoy? Because I can't connect to any characters. I can't connect to any plot points. I can't connect to anything. Nothing makes any kind of sense. Nothing makes any kind of... just anything. Nothing is anything in this show. I literally don't care about anything. With like 10 minutes or less for each episode, like in that time you could easily tell a story. But instead it is just mindless, senseless, ridiculous violence, blood and gore, and sexuality. The only semblance of a story is that it's a post-apocalyptic world since little Jesus came and kind of destroyed everything and took over, and Jung is trying to save the world as well as somehow rescue or avenge Maria at the same time. There's a little bit of lore in terms of all these different villages having popped up in this post-apocalyptic world, with these legends surrounding the broken-hearted hero and all. But all of that is just it's glazed. It's just completely passed by. They mention it briefly and then kind of just completely ignore it. They don't build into it. They don't give any kind of great expanding on any of these plot points at all. It's just like, oh, it's mentioned. So that there's some semblance of world building to this. So that there's some semblance of anything. That at least gives you some kind of illusion of that this is an actual like world filled with people and stuff. It wants to give you some level of an illusion of that, even if it's just so dumb. Because here's the thing. Here's the thing. When I say you can't, like, I don't care for any of these characters, none of them. I don't even feel sad for Jung having lost his girlfriend or fiance or whatever she was to him. At the beginning with everything that happened and all, it's just like, it didn't affect me because I didn't know these characters enough. It gave us, like, maybe 30 seconds at most of these of him and Maria just frolicking and being goofy and having cute fun. I didn't even know anything about them other than Maria could apparently paint. I knew like literally nothing else about their character. Who they are, what they do. I mean, there was kind of an implication that like maybe they weren't looked on favorably by that one guy. But nothing ever came of that because everything just went to shit. And unless that somehow comes back, which I don't know, I kind of doubt will, because this series doesn't have any sense of follow through or build up. It just throws things at you. Pop Team Epic had more to give than this, I feel. And you guys know I didn't like Pop Team Epic that much. I thought that was just dumb, pointless, and not that even good humor for the sake of it. I felt that it didn't really do anything really entertaining or fun or good or even clever most of the time. And just really didn't enjoy it. It wasn't enjoyable. It was dumb. Again, for the most part, there are exceptions to that. There were some episodes and some little skits in it that were funny. Um, but even that, even though that was a completely segmented show on purpose, it still felt like there was more to it. Like there were certain jokes and stuff that would pop up multiple times, and it felt like there were certain ones that were even almost built up to. It even had a couple like ongoing story points to it at times, I believe. It just like it felt like there was more logic and sense put into that than this. This is just it makes my head hurt. Again, I have no issue with the violence, the sexual content, even though the sexual content is really like what the fuck. The sex fiends. I don't think that's what they're called. I'm just calling them that. Um, the fact that Jung, his power up makes him just suddenly grow breasts that can shoot nipple milk lasers because what the fuck? It's just like everything is so purposefully over the top that I cannot tell what this show is trying to do or what it's trying to be or anything really. I can't tell what is going on with this series. Like, were the people who made this on hardcore drugs or something? Like, were these people fucking like just living on magic mushrooms? Just surviving on nothing but magic mushrooms? Hardcore drugs is the only way I can see how anyone could even think of making something like this. Like, how does it enter your mind to make something like this? So there's a couple things in this I want to talk about real quick before I finish this off, though. Because there's not much else to say, but there are a couple things I want to touch on, and you guys probably know what it is. So, you guys know I'm trans. And there's a couple things in this that I'm sure come across as, like, what do I, as a trans woman, think of these things? Obviously, this is in regards to these men being declared as women, as mothers, and just like accepting it and like changing their pronouns, changing their entire lives to and their voices even and shit. And then there's the point of the main character's power up, physically changing his appearance to grow feminine breasts in a very sexualized manner. And I'll talk about that one first. As I said in the reaction, admittedly, I kind of wish I could do that. um, because, I mean, that's one of the big things that, at least for me, it has always been something that's bothered me. I've always felt wrong about my body, and I've always wanted breasts. And I have fake ones. I have fake breasts that I can wear in a bra, put on to kind of give the illusion that I have them, but they're fake, and it's not the same. I take them off every day. In fact, most days when I'm just sitting here at home, I don't wear them because I don't have a need to really. Plus, also wearing the bra and those constantly puts a strain on my back and shoulders. and it's just, yeah, not exactly most pleasant to be wearing for too long at a time. um but I've always wanted like real, like natural breasts, and I know that with like hormone therapy and stuff I can get them, but that shit's expensive, and yeah, plus there's a lot of hoops you have to jump through to even get that. And it's just like I just kind of, it's like I kind of wish I could just grow breasts like that at will. Maybe not necessarily that big, but still. um and as to what I think about just this idea in general, it's like I don't think it's necessarily meant as anything against trans people or anything. And I definitely don't think anything in this show is meant to be like that. Or I don't think it's like any kind of even statement on that. I don't even think it's like trying to say like that he's becoming a woman, or that it's like he's transforming from one gender to another through this. I don't think it's trying to make any kind of statement like that. I think it's trying to be overly ridiculous for the sake of being overly ridiculous. And so it's like when you see all these power-ups in anime and whatnot, and cartoons that take from anime, like a lot of the power-ups, oh, it's bigger muscles, a hair color change, maybe skin color changes, or stuff like that. And so it's like the creators of this, I'm sure what their thought process was, or at least I hope, was what's the most ridiculous kind of transformation we can do for this character? Let's just make him grow these massive tits that shoot lasers. Because why the fuck not? It's not meant to be insulting, or meant to be any kind of statement on gender in any way. I just feel like it's meant to just be stupidly ridiculous. And then as for the entire thing about people being, a guy is being declared as women, because apparently there just appear to be no cis women around. It just seems like everyone is a cis male until they're declared a woman, and then they just transition to being a woman. I don't think this is necessarily a statement on this either, on trans people or gender or anything. Again, I think it's just trying to be just stupidly ridiculous. Because, like, at first, like, before we found out how, like, that all worked, I guess, with these villages, like, the only kind of situation we've seen with it is Mary Magdalene. We meet Mary Magdalene. She uses she/her pronouns. Everybody uses she/her pronouns with her. Despite her, like, having a stereotypically masculine body. I mean, pretty feminine in general, but still, you know what I mean. Like the beard and no breasts and everything, and probably a penis. um, and it's like, it's just kind of accepted that Mary Magdalene is a she, is a woman. And it's like, okay, fine, cool. But then apparently we find out, and I assume it's kind of the same way, that there's apparently two different ways that this kind of thing happens in. Because we saw someone taken, again, hostage by the sex fiends, the chainsaw crotched sex fiends, and it's like the chain turned him into a woman, turned him very effeminate. And then, of course, we saw just the declaration by the village leader that the one guy became this kid's mama, and began to live out the rest of his life as, well, as a her instead. And some people might like say, like, oh, that comes across as like, not as like kind of invalidating trans people or stuff, or like some people might think it comes across as like saying, oh, like trans people are just, it's just a declaration, it's not really something they are. It's purposefully going against who they're who they just logically are. But again, I don't think that's what this is necessarily going for. I think it's just trying to be stupid and ridiculous. I think it's just trying to do something maybe even purposefully shocking. But I don't think it's trying to be anything like legitimately offensive to any kind of people group or anything. And I don't think it's trying to make any kind of big statements on that kind of shit. I might be wrong. I admit I might be wrong, but it's kind of impossible to say, if I'm being honest. Again, I have absolutely no issue with any of any sexual stuff or whatnot, but it's just, I am kind of on, and I'm not really, I wouldn't say I'm on the fence with that stuff that I just mentioned. It's just, I kind of don't, I think it's, again, just meant to be as ridiculous and fucking dumb as possible. And so I just kind of say, okay, it's okay. I'm not going to say it's like super positive or I'm like super positively for it, but yeah. I'm still going to watch the next 5 episodes. None of this was super offensive or anything to stop me watching the first, or to stop me from continuing. None of it, like I had talked about in the pre-thoughts, was anything like that bad. But it's like, I will continue watching, but I just don't know what to fucking think right now. Honestly, I think I just need to finish this off. I've been talking long enough. I've talked a surprisingly long amount of time for not really having much of anything to actually say. And though, admittedly, a lot of it was just like kind of recapping what actually happened, but still. If you can, tell me what you thought in the comments below, and thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.